Hello students, good morning student. Now it's your accounts class and from your accounts book double entry bookkeeping I started one chapter named issue of shares, and yesterday I discussed with you issue of shares consideration other than cash. So if we purchase the business is considered as other than consideration, and it is possible in the case of vendors and when any person provided services like underwriters, promoters. In consideration, if companies issue share is also considered as consideration other than cash. Now my today's topic is issue of shares, accounting treatment of calls in arrears. Now first of all, I already in my previous lectures also discussed with you what is calls in arrears. Again see with the help of one example. DBH International Limited issued 1,50,000 equity shares of 10 each. All the calls had been received and made and received except final call of rupees 2 per share on 10,000 equity shares. So number of shares here provided 1,50,000 and 10 per share and issued by the DBH International company. So here the problem is 10,000 equity shares on which rupees 2 not yet received. First of all, find out subscribed capital. Subscribed capital, two type: subscribed and fully paid and subscribed and not fully paid. So in this case, first of all, out of 1,50,000, 1,40,000 fully paid, 10,000 not fully paid. So see here, 1,40,000 equity shares of rupees 10 each. 1,40,000 multiplied 10, 14 lakh. And here 10,000 equity shares of rupees 10. 10,000 multiplied 10, total value 1 lakh. Out of 10, only 2 rupees not yet received. So 10,000 multiplied to 20,000 not received. So 1 lakh minus 20,000, 80,000 received. And the total amount to be shown in the balance sheet 14 lakh, this fully paid, and 80,000 not fully paid. Total amount 14 lakh 80,000. And so here is your calls in arrears. 20,000 is your calls in arrears. The amount called by the company either as allotment or call money and not paid by the shareholder is called calls in arrears. Simply means that the amount which is not paid by the shareholder considered as calls in arrears account. Now, rate of interest. If article of association is silent, Table F of the Companies Act 2013 applies and interest is charged 10% per annum. If nothing given in your sum, then 10% according to the Companies Act charged on interest in calls in arrears. Now, accounting entry of calls in arrears. Two methods used here. Number one method, without opening the calls in arrears account. Second, by opening calls in arrears account. First of all, without opening the calls in arrears account, how to find out? With the example of Rainforest Limited issued shares and public subscribed one shareholder Mohan who fails to pay the first money on 500 shares. Total number of shares issued and subscribed 10,000 equity shares and the first call rupees 2 per share. Pass the journal entry. So here the condition is कि total number of shares 10,000, one shareholder not paid and the name of the shareholder Mohan, 500 shares the person holding, and rupees 2 first call, he not paid first call. So we are using method without opening the calls in arrears account. No need to open the separate calls in arrears account to adjust the money in calls only. Like in here, the person failed to pay the first call, so in first call adjust the amount. So see, total number of shares 10,000, first call rupees 2 per share. Mohan failed to pay the first call of 50,000 equity shares. First entry, shares first call due. Shares first call account debited to share capital account. The total amount here is 10,000 multiplied to 20,000 amount yet due. So your due entry you know very well. Shares first call account debited to share capital account. What goes out? Share. So here debit what comes in, credit what goes out, and your first call still due. Next, when you received less. Bank account to share first call account. Here see, total your number 10,000 minus 500. On 500 not 2 rupees received. 9,500 is your amount on which you are receiving rupees 2. So here 9,500 multiplied to 19,000 you received. No need to open here separately calls in arrears account. So two entry, one is due entry, one is received entry. In received entry, deduct from the shares the shares amount, shares number of the shareholder who was failed to pay the money, and here full amount. Here 10,000 full amount due, and in case of received just deduct that particular, like here 500 deducted. Under this method, the amount of calls in arrears is retained in respective calls account. As a result, journal entry is not passed for transfer of amount not received to calls in arrears account, and the balance in the account is the amount of calls in arrears account. So here no need, in this method no need to open the separate calls in arrears account or to pass the separate entry of calls in arrears. Just adjust in the calls received. See the account also. Number 1, first call. So first call due entry, first call account debited to share capital. So here post to share capital account 20,000. Second entry, bank account to share first call account by bank account 19,000. The balance 20,000 minus 19,000. The balance is your answer. Calls in arrears account 1,000. Now the conclusion. The debit balance in the share first call account shows the amount of calls in arrears. Later on, when the company receives the amount, it is credited to the share first call account and the balance in the account becomes nil. So here credited to the first call account, and accounts become nil afterwards whenever the shareholder pay the amount which is not yet paid. Second method, by opening the calls in arrears account. When you open the calls in arrears account, now the first one is when you are not opening the account. Here you are opening the account. Example, like in previous example, see 10,000 total number of shares, 500 Mohan not paid first call. So same example, see the journal entry. First again due, same entry, share first call account to share capital account 20,000, 20,000 being the amount due on the 10,000 shares at 2 per share on first call. Now the second entry, bank account. In previous case, when the calls in arrears account is not opened, so here not mentioned separately calls in arrears account, but here we are opening the calls in arrears account. So bank account calls in arrears account. Why calls in arrears account debit? Debit all expenses and losses. That's why here calls in arrears account debited with the amount 500 multiplied to 1000, here 19,000, total 20,000. Being amount on first call received except on 500 shares and the balance not received transferred to calls in arrears account. So here maintain two accounts separately. One is share first call account to share capital account. So post here to share capital account 20,000. Second case, by bank account 19,000, by calls in arrears 1,000, 20,000, 20,000. No here balancing amount because we maintain separately calls in arrears account. Now second, calls in arrears account separately to share first call account 1000 posted, see from here to this account posted, and the buy balance carried out is your again 1000. So here calls in arrears account maintained. In this method, calls in arrears account opened, the amount first call not received are transferred to calls in arrears account. The main entry here in second method is, in first method no need to pass the separate entry of calls in arrears account, but in second method it is required. Like here, calls in arrears account debited to share first call account. Very important entry. Okay, with the help of example I already discussed with you. Now the next part is interest on calls in arrears account. Interest on calls in arrears means when in your sum not given interest rate, so 10% charged by the company, okay, on the calls in arrears and per annum charged by Companies Act. It is the rate is provided. So interest with the example, understand what is interest. Uniball Limited issued 10,000 shares payable as ₹2 on application, 3 on allotment, 3 on first call and 2 on second call. So procedure here, 10,000 total shares, 2, 3, 3 and 2 installment based. The company made allotment and the money was duly received except the second and final call on 500 shares on due amount. So here on 500 not received second and final call of ₹2. Article of Association of the company provided for charging interest on calls in arrears 10%, here given already to interest. So find out the answer. First of all, on making due the interest on calls in arrears account, sundry members like shareholders account debited to interest on calls in arrears account. This one is your due entry when no interest is not yet received. If now here interest on calls in arrears account, why credited? Credit or all incomes and gains. And for company is here receiving the interest receiving from the shareholders. For company it is a income, so that's why credited. Now see the working note. 500 shares on which ₹2 not received, 500 multiplied to 1000. Interest, now find out interest after 3 months calls in arrears. Like see, due amount after 3 months paid by the shareholder, so 3 months gap from the due date. So here 1010 divided by 100 multiply 3 divided by 12. The total amount here is ₹25. Interest due ₹25, and the entry here is sundry members account debited 25 to interest on calls in arrears account ₹25. Second entry, on receipt of interest on calls in arrears account, when you receive interest, bank account debited to sundry members account. Now here you receive ₹25. being interest on calls in arrears account received after 3 months. So here, why bank account debited? Credit what goes out and debit what comes in. Here bank cash comes in. So 25 rupees received by the company from the shareholder. Now homework questions. What is the closing entry for interest on calls in arrears account? Give the adjustment and closing entry for interest on calls in arrears account due from a shareholder and solve your back exercise practical problems 21 till 23 plus related illustration of your book chapter, and also watch the links for more better understanding of the topic. Thank you.